Hello again, welcome back everyone. LiquorHound here with you. Thank you for joining me once again for another spirit review video. Now today we're going to be reviewing the IW Harper 15-year-old bourbon that was just released in my area within the last couple days. This IW Harper brand, if you're familiar with it, was discontinued in the US around the mid to early 90s. So it hasn't been around here for about 20-25 years. But Diageo now owns the brand name, so they decided to do a re-release using it. And the thing to note that I found very interesting was that it is the exact same mash bill as the Forged Oak. It's the exact same mash bill as two of the other Orphan Barrel projects, those being the Rhetoric 20 and 21-year-old, that all have the same mash bill being 86% corn, 6% rye, and 8% barley. Other similarities, they all come from the same distillery, New Bernheim. Now, Rhetoric, they talked about maybe some old Bernheim being in it, but as far as Forged Oak goes, this is New Bernheim, okay? And Barter House as well, New Bernheim, exact same mash bill, but Barter House being 20 years old. So I want to see if, because I know they kind of all share similarities, all right? The thing to note is that they were all aged a little bit at Bernheim's, rickhouses, and then transferred over to Stitzel Weller where they did additional aging. As far as proofing is concerned, the IW Harper 15 is bottled at 86 proof. The Forged Oak 15-year-old is bottled at 90.5 proof, so just a little bit bigger. But as far as you can tell, they share a very similar color. I don't know if you can see that. Even in the glass, very, very similar in color. Matter of fact, the only difference I can tell is that probably Forged Oak is just a little bit darker, but not by much. So again, with all these coming from the same distilleries, all these spending time in the same exact rickhouses, and you know, we have the Orphan Barrel project, and now we have IW Harper. I just want to see, are they really that different, or are they very, very similar? Now, I can tell you exactly what the Rhetoric 20 and 21 tastes like, because I just shot that video last week, still fresh in my mind, so I want to compare these two to those as well and see what I think. Now, on to the nose for the IW Harper 15-year-old. Wow. Fairly sweet on the nose. Sweet brown sugar, sweet caramel. Again, with that same similar orange peel aspect that I found on the Rhetorics is in this glass. Red fruits being cherries and raspberries in particular. Clove and cinnamon. Some leather. And a little bit of that roasted nut element going on as well. But this one feels pretty citrus heavy. It reminds me of the Rhetoric 20 more than the 21. 21 was leaning a little more bigger, a little more rounded with the brown sugar and caramel, and it also had a really rich leather on the back end. That one kind of like right in between the two. Alright, let's see what Forged Oak has going on. Okay. Leaning more on the brown sugar, a little bit more of that doughiness that I found on the Rhetorics, with that little bit of cornmeal in it. This one does have a little bit of that citrus aspect, orange peel, hint of mint, a little more vanilla in this one than I found in either the Rhetorics or the IW Harper on the nose. But a good fair amount of oak in this one. Cinnamon and clove are in there, but they're a lot more muted than they were in the IW Harper or the Rhetorics. Okay, let's get to the taste. On to the 15-year-old. Wow. About a medium viscosity. Wow. It still has that, it's similar to Rhetoric in the sense that you have the orange peel aspect, you have the caramel, you have that little bit of brown sugar in there as well, adding a little depth to it. You have that clove and cinnamon swell on the mid palate. But what's unique about this one is there's a slightly, almost like a menthol or a minty aspect that doesn't really come through fully on the palate, other than the tingle it gives your tongue right up on top. Yeah, it kind of feels like it just dances on the tongue a little bit. Spices never get too big. There's a grapefruit peel, almost like the pith of a grapefruit, adding some bitterness to it on the mid palate. So as that cinnamon and clove kind of do a little swell, then you start getting a little, that orange kind of transforms into a little more grapefruit feeling. As we fall off, there's a little bit of a, it kind of makes it feel, I was thinking chocolate milk, but then that grapefruit kind of makes it feel like a little combination of milk and bitter chocolate. Some roasted nuts on the back end as well, as you head into the touch of oak and leather. There's a good fair amount of leather in this one, not as much as the Rhetoric 21. I think it's almost a very similar hybrid between the 20 and 21-year-old, just with a little added bitterness of a bitter chocolate roasted nut and a grapefruit peel onto it on this one. Again, that menthol, that eucalyptus type thing is more of a feeling than it is an actual flavoring. Yeah, it just kind of dances up there. I could see there being a little eucalyptus in there on the flavor profile. Problem is that it's the grapefruit and that citrus aspect, and the red fruits that are in there underneath are kind of covering up that eucalyptus. The oak on the back end is there, not too tannic, not drying out at all. It's just a fair, balanced bourbon. To me, this would be my second favorite, probably, well, of the whole Orphan Barrel line, it'd be my third favorite. I enjoy Lost Prophet, Rhetoric 21, then the IW Harper 15. Let's go ahead and see what Forged Oak has to say. Medium viscosity. Wow. More cinnamon than clove on the swell. A little less citrus than any of the others. It actually has a bigger brown sugar caramel note up front. The only problem is once that cinnamon kind of takes off, it does share that similar swell quality to it. The clove just is not as full in this one. But as we hit the top of it and you start getting into the finish, the oak comes on fairly strong on the Forged Oak. There is a lot more leather in this one. Leather and chocolate on this one. More bitter chocolate though. The orange aspect is in there though. It is a little bit in there, it's underneath. So the thing I can say is that they all share that whole citrus orange peel aspect to all of them, coming from that new Bernheim distillate back in '93. They all share, not only that, they all share a pretty similar clove and cinnamon swell on that mid palate. The difference being is that this one has a little bit of that eucalyptus adding a tingle to the tongue, not feeling too hot, not drying out. Forged Oak, if you like old bourbons, this one is probably a better bourbon for you because that oak is definitely there on the back end. Even though it's only 15 years old, it probably just aged a little hotter. It kind of pulled a little too much from the wood, in my opinion, because it gets a little drying on the back end. But other than that, they're all very, very similar, just kind of doing different names on them. But again, I think the 15-year-old is a really nice buy, not only because of the beautiful decanter, but because of the bourbon that's inside it. So not all things are bad coming out of Orphan Barrel or this IW Harper line. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Everybody have a great evening, and cheers.